Hey, how's it going? It's your boy, Challenger Coach MortiartyAllis, here to bring you the 10.7 pick of the patch video where we go over our top meta and up-and-coming picks. A dishonorable mention though goes to the reworked Fiddlesticks for breaking the hopes and dreams of so many with his 40% win rate, but anyways, let's get right into it. First up, we likely have one of the strongest champions in the top lane who's been repeatedly nerfed, but much like NA teams in Spring Split, he just doesn't care about it, and that's Wukong. Recently, Wukong got hit by another set of nerfs on his passive and his E, which can be pretty big because taking 40% damage off of his most commonly maxed ability can be pretty huge. But this didn't stop Wukong at all, as his win rate in Diamond Plus remains at a 54% win rate in top lane, along with a near 50% ban rate. This is because many people post nerfs have begun to swap to a new Wukong setup where you're gonna max Q instead of E, and then, yeah, you probably guessed it, you're gonna go Bork into Black Cleaver like every basic bruiser. This setup is going to allow you to snowball harder than the previous E max with Trinity Force style, as getting the slow active from Bork early on gives him the ability to E to a minion and then Bork for the slow and then ulti the person, giving you a much larger kill range in laning phase. Is a bit of a double-edged sword though, as falling behind on this version leaves you pretty squishy, but you know, you did pick Wukong, and if you manage to lose lane, you got bigger issues than that than the build choice. And next up, a champion whose mains abandoned him but have now started to return as a new build has appeared, and it's gotta be Draven. Might seem a bit weird, but the build is actually Mana Moon, then Sanguini Blade, and then after that you can continue to go lethality with things like Edge of Nine, Duskblade, more Reminder, or the EU Dravens prefer to go into crit like IE in Rapid Fire Cannon. For runes, it's also a bit split, with EU preferring to stick with Press the Attack while China prefers Conqueror or Halo Blades, and then NA just prefers Halo Blades in general. This style of Draven might seem weird like I mentioned, but it covers up the fact that he's got some real mana issues, allowing him to charge it pretty quickly with the spam Qs and spam Ws to give him a lot more mobility than normal, as he does almost no damage without W or axes, which, you know, if you spam them too much, you're normally going to go on that champion. Not to mention the lethality items in raw AD also come in handy for his ultimate that was buffed a couple of patches ago, allowing him to chunk the enemy backline really hard and then walk forward and hit them with 2 axes to clean up the kills. And it's his most popular and up-and-coming Draven style from one of the best Chinese challenger Draven gods, Vincent, so if you like Draven, you should probably give this a shot. This next champion is pretty OP in the mid lane no matter how you're going to build him, but there is an interesting style to his build that I wanted to bring up, and that's Fizz. The standard build for him at the moment is Protobelt Lichbane, but Dopa, one of the most famous Fizz players of all time, actually skips that item altogether, preferring that his core items be Lichbane and then Zhonya's early on. The reason he's going to skip Protobelt is actually twofold. The first is, despite Zhonya's being considered a defensive item, for Fizz, very similar to Kassadin, it can be considered an offensive choice, as it allows you to enter the middle of fights with a big E from Fizz without worrying about dying, or engaging fights on your own without again worrying about dying. It makes him a much better and more proficient team fighter. The second reason is that it makes his 3-item spike stronger, as you can actually pick up a Void or Death Cap a lot easier. On screen, you'll see the setup that works best in low elo, but in high elo, you can't really greed this hard, so normally Apto will pick up CDR boots and Zhonya's earlier. He's going to take the Inspiration Tree secondary for Time Warp Tonic and Minion Dematerializer to help with his early game. He also takes Corrupting Potion over D-Ring and takes Zombie Ward and Sweeper level 1 to try and get a really cheesy level 2 all-in, with clearing a ward at level 1 to get the XP advantage, so you can try this trick out yourself. This next champion received a huge buff to his W range and E armor shred. That's right, it's gotta be Nasus. Now, even post buffs, he's still pretty mediocre in the Diamond Plus bracket, but in low elo, he is a monster with a 53% win rate and 10% pick rate, making him one of the strongest low elo picks on this patch. As for his setup, there's been a little bit of a debate between the Spellbook style, the Grasp style, and Conqueror, so I'm here to help you out with that. The Spellbook one actually performs the worst out of all of them in all brackets of play, so it's pretty much a gimmick. While Grasp slightly outperforms Conqueror in low elo, but is majorly outplayed in high elo, so it's not even close. Conqueror is so much better in high elo than Grasp. So like usual, the optimal keystone for the melee champion, even if it's someone like Nasus, is gonna be Conqueror. I mean, it's pretty close in low elo. Grasp does do slightly better, but in high elo, it's the only keystone that has above a 50% win rate. And do not even get me started on Phase Rush. Those buffs did nothing. It's still pretty unusable. Do not use it on Nasus. If you're a top laner and you're trying to get to gold or platinum, definitely try and pick up Nasus, right? But just not with Phase Rush. Alright, so this little bugman historically is a popular smurfing champion to stomp low elo, but funny enough, never really did well in low elo itself until now, and that's Kha'Zix. It's kind of sad that it comes to this, but many assassin players, including some of the most traditional ones, you know, like Talon and my boy Zed, and now even Kha'Zix have turned to the dark side and started to run bruiser setups with Conqueror. Kha'Zix was in fact though one of the early adapters of this playstyle. It's just sad to see champions like Zed start to do it too. But anyways, the reason for it is that there's just so many tanks, there's so many bruisers in the meta, people are so tanky that even assassins were forced to adapt to this playstyle, and they just weren't able to one-shot people or deal with bruisers' sustained damage and healing because they were too squishy, so they couldn't survive fights. Now, Kha'Zix in particular, though, is one of the best assassins at abusing the new Conqueror setup. When you're going to evolve the Q and then you're going to evolve W, you can easily out-DPS other Conqueror abusers in a duel while using your W to kite them out or chase them down with the slow. In my opinion, this was truly what Riot meant when they wanted an assassin champion to evolve and adapt so much that their original playstyle is no longer that of an assassin, he's just a bruiser now. Next up, we have one of the most popular ADCs in the game because of how good looking they are and how they're going to make a bunch of outplays, and in low elo, you probably hate having them on your team. That's right, it's not Ezreal, it's in fact Kai'Sa. But Adam, what do you mean? I love having Kai'Sa on my team. Well, in low elo, you probably shouldn't. Without having the proper build, her win rate is a terrible average of 47%. Fear not though, I have just come out of the lab and I've crunched all the numbers for you so that now you will know Kai'Sa's most optimal setup. First up, for runes, there is a battle between Halo Blades, press the attack and lethal tempo, and it is very in favor of Halo Blades, both in low elo and in high elo. Next up, in terms of items, you got the AP versus AD versus hybrid Essence Reaver Rush setup. The winner is going to be the Monomoon into Rage Blade and then Nashor's Tooth as the most optimal setup for Kai'Sa, as AP items are just way too OP to skip out on. You can still do the crit follow-up if your team's got way too much AP, but ideally AP Kai'Sa is her most ideal build, so you know, you're welcome. Our first support of this list is going to be one of my personal favorites lately, as whenever Spectrum decides to give me over 150 ping, I just queue support and pick my boy Maokai, because he's just so easy to win on right now, as he currently holds a 54% win rate in Diamond Plus. Fun fact, along with Set, Maokai is one of the most popular up-and-coming support picks in Korea and Chinese solo queue due to his ability to easily peel away enemy engaged supports in lane while also being an amazing anti-dive champion. He's also a lot more lane dominant than what you would think, as Maokai was originally designed to be a jungler, making his targeted CC really great for roaming early game, but one of my favorite tactics for winning the actual laning phase is to just throw a sapling into the side brush for brush control, and then you're going to W onto someone who steps really close to it or just outside of its range. Then you're going to cue them towards the brush to proc the empowered sapling. Kind of works every single time. It's going to be a bunch of kills. The big advantage about Maokai support though that I like personally is that the saplings last a really long time when you put them in a brush, so you can use them as pseudo wards in the river to avoid getting ganked because your AD carry isn't going to do that anyway, so it's really nice that you got a bunch of spammable wards. For our next champion, we have a jungler that's looking to return to the meta, and that's Hecarim. For most of the season, let's be honest people, he sucked. He was actually just completely awful. But lately, with some setup optimizations and the increase in melee champions for him to cleave, he's doing a lot better. First up, we gotta remember that Death's Dance is a very powerful item on him, so look to pick it up 3rd or 4th item when possible. His normal Cinderhawk setup is fine if you fell behind, but Hecarim is and always will be a snowball champion, meaning if you do snowball, you want to use this best snowball setup, which is actually Blue Smite Warrior into Trinity Force. Hecarim's AD ratios are actually pretty good, so if you pick up some early kills off the enemy AD carry, which, you know, let's be real here, they're the most likely target, then you're definitely going to look to go a more carry one-shot oriented Hecarim style, because you're going to have a higher % chance to win, because he isn't meant to be played as a tank unless he falls behind and, you know, your team comp needs a frontline. But this is more of a I messed up and I hope I get carried strategy. This isn't I'm gonna carry the game type, which is why you really want to go warriors when possible. Okay, so this next champion, I know a lot of mid laners don't like him because everyone plays assassins right now wanting to make the big outplays, but that's exactly why you should pick him up. Even someone like Jizuke plays Malzahar right now in competitive, so you should give it a try too. I mean, come on, everyone is playing melee champions and Malzahar just destroys these types of team comp. He's got the CC, the absurd DPS. It's his time to shine, and even starting to see him more in competitive scrims, not only in solo queue. His item build's pretty much the same, nothing too new, but the one thing I want to mention that Jizuke does so well in general on this champion that you should do too is in fact that despite being an immobile control mage, he's pretty good in the side lane. The reason behind that is it's pretty simple. It's really hard for anyone to beat him 1v1, and even if you're able to do that, which isn't very likely if you're a melee champion, it doesn't even matter if he loses the 1v1 because he pushes the wave so quickly and with so much less committal to actually doing it that it doesn't really matter, and he's going to be able to farm out in the mid game. He's going to be able to pick up his items, and then once he's on 3 items, he can just destroy team fights. Last up, we've got an Enchanter support who is actually Dopa's go-to support pick in this meta, so you know it's gotta be pretty good, and that's actually Lulu. Lulu, similar to Nami, is kinda under the radar as she's been overperforming since her buffs to her E on 10.2, but more recently her AD carry pairings got a little bit better, which is exactly what Lulu wants. She is very defined by how good she is with her bot lane partners. Okay, so right off the bat, sure, she is just god awful with Ezreal and he's super meta right now, but she actually does do decently with Misfortune, but more importantly, she's got Aphelios, Varus, Kai'Sa, Vayne, Kog'Maw and Twitch, although they aren't meta, they're still very good with her. And the rest of these champions just do so well with Lulu that when she hits the 30-minute mark, you're pretty much going to instant win if you have these combos. No matter how badly they stuck in the laning phase, it doesn't even matter. You hit Aphelios Lulu at 30 minutes, that's a 2v8 teamfight right there. Easy peasy. I will admit though, her early game is still a little bit weak, but you can help solve that by going Relic Shield and or Guardian in all-in matchups just to help you scale a little bit easier. It's also acceptable to take Exhaust into Kalista specifically because I know she's meta, but otherwise it is still way worse on Lulu than taking Ignite or Heal, so just keep that in mind. Well, that's it folks, so thank you everyone for watching our 10.7 pick of the patch video. Be sure to check out our other content on this channel as well as at mobalytics.gg. As always, I'm Adam Mortiarty Isles, and may the new and old solo queue gods be with you.